Welcome to the Gritty Mamas podcast, everybody. I'm here.
Wait. A Julie Jeppson production.
This is a closet cast, actually, where once again I'm in my closet and Carly is in her fancy studio. It looks so much more professional. She's even got the karate chop in the pillows behind her. Looks so good. Took us a minute to get microphones, as usual. One of these days it'll just be like you don't have to think about it. And
hey, but we didn't have to drive. There was no drive time.
Yeah. Hi, Kenya. Can you take this dog for me, please, and put her in Treyu's room? I don't either. Anyway, this is Raw Dog. We are Raw Dog in this podcast. Here. I didn't, that wasn't even supposed to be a pun.
You know, like that word in our generation is used for a very different reason. And the kids use it now totally different.
I don't even know what it was for in our generation. It's probably something dirty because bless my heart. Oh, great. I just said something dirty. I just said we're going to go Raw Dog on this. I'm sure it has something to do with a man's private parts. Is that right?
Yes. The favorite, one of my favorite YouTubers, what's his name? He's the lawyer, Peter Tragos. He had like a totally different than his normal YouTube video once when he bet his nephew that he couldn't quote unquote raw dog a flight, and they made up these rules, and like he couldn't sleep, he couldn't read, I can't remember all of the
but what does that even mean, to raw dog a flight?
So that's what I was like, because when he said that, he had a lot of comments, and a lot of people like me, they're like, what did you just say? And to this generation, it meant like to raw dog a flight meant like you have to just sit there and not do anything. You just have to like look out the window. It was an 8-hour flight, a long flight. And the guy was like, Peter was like, I'll pay you $500 if you can do this or something crazy like that. And he's a student and he wanted the money and he did it. But Peter had like 3 different opportunities where he had to like know all the state capitals or something. And then he'd get out of his seat and go to the bathroom.
Oh, like that you couldn't even go to the bathroom?
No.
You had to earn it?
I mean, and he did. He was nice enough, but I was like, there's no way. You could not put me on a plane for 8 hours and tell me I can't read, can't listen to a podcast. I would just die. So anyway, that was my first experience with that phrase outside of the meaning that you and I have, like our group of humans, whatever, what are we? Millennials?
You're a millennial. I'm a zennial.
A zennial. Okay. Yeah.
But I still don't know what it means in that generation. Maybe I'll ask you to help me understand, or I'll chat GPT it after this podcast.
No, don't chat GPT that. That is
too bad.
It means there's no contraception.
Oh, raw dog. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep, that makes sense. But to me, when I say we are raw dog in this,
you'll never think about it the same again, will you?
No, I will not. Oh my heavens. It just meant like, this is raw. There's not a whole lot of editing. I have asked my kids to put that dog in a bedroom 5 times and she's back. It's because she knows how to open doors.
What?
Yes. She goes like this and opens the hand and she's back. This is so annoying.
My audio is not lined up to my face. Is that just the recording process or what?
It's working over here on this end, but here she is again. I can't get rid of her. So I even took off her collar so her bell isn't ringing, like the collars aren't like clinking, but she won't leave me alone. So I'll just let her sit in here. Anyway, welcome to the podcast today in the closet. Yes, that was. We're talking about raw dogs, plural. What I meant by that is this is raw. Like we're not doing a whole bunch of fancy editing. I have a dog that I'm trying to get out of here, and it is
more fancy equipment.
Yeah. I mean, you should see how my microphone, it's just like such a downgrade to go from Sundara to the closet back to the humble pie.
Did you see that we got comments where people were like, we actually like this, the like more realistic, more, I can't remember the phrase they used. They like this relatable setup.
And very authentic. I mean, I have shoved this Rode mic into a tripod that it doesn't belong with, and it's 9:30 at night. Kids are... Some of them are asleep. Some of them are awake. I'm right next door with the wall right here is next to the bathroom. So you'll probably hear flushing through the walls as we're podcasting. Like this is kind of like a wah, wah, wah after being at Sundara. I'm back in the closet.
You know what? Julie, I think that the more AI like takes over our lives, the more people are going to like authenticity because they can tell this is not AI. This is real people with real conversations.
That's right. And
there's
you know what? Like,
awesome with that.
I honestly, I cannot tell if it's AI sometimes. And
that's the only way
I can tell is if I look in the comments and if it says this is AI, I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I have fallen for it, totally fallen for it, where, now you can see where AI, it's like almost too perfect, you know, but I'm sure that will improve over time. There's going to be AI corn.
Everything.
Yeah.
Oh, there already is. There already is.
Yeah, that's great. See, I'm so behind. Like, I don't even understand the things that are happening in the world today. And I was sheltered as a kid, which is great because it protected me, but also it makes me a little bit ignorant, to the things that are happening. And how do I protect my kids if I don't even know it exists? It's almost like you have to inform yourself and almost get into the dirty trenches of it to understand, to be able to protect. And I don't know the balance there, but I'm just brand new with teenagers, brand new with a 16-year-old and a 15-year-old. If I can just make it through, when do they get better? 19 or 20? I don't know. You should know. You've got what, a 20-year-old or 19-year-old?
She's 19, but she has always been like an old soul. So she's not exactly like a good
example or like comparable.
She's a great example, but I can't use her as like the standard. She just kind of like came how she came,
Right.
But I've heard, about that age, 19. Maybe it's when they leave your house and they realize that, food isn't free, gas isn't free, mom actually knows some things, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's when it gets better.
Oh, geez. And even when Dana gets there, I'll have 7 more lined up. Oh my gosh. Like I'm in the firing squad.
I feel like there's obviously good and bad to everything, but I feel like one of the harder things about having 8 kids, for me, it's 4 that are spaced out, but we're both experiencing the same thing where you're like in the trenches with the teens, but then you have a preschooler, right? Like I was teaching a kid how to drive while also trying to keep one out of the road. Like, it's such a hard spectrum to go back and forth between. It's quite interesting, but we'll make it through.
Yeah. And I had 8 kids in 11 years.
So wild.
I know. So it's like you said, every 18 months, I have a new kid getting a license. Every 18 months, I had a new kid potty training.
Well, every baptisms, all the things.
Yeah. And ordinations, and every milestone happens every 18 months.
Yeah.
So the amount of teeth that we have seen, like lost in this house, the amount of fingernails I have clipped, the amount of haircuts that I have given. And I mean,
wait, have you cut your own kids' hair?
I have been cutting my
totally off topic, but all of your kids, I have noticed, because I was thinking earlier this week, watching Adana struggle at the hospital, all the things, I thought, man, she drew the short end of the stick with the kidney stones and whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Man, she has the best hair. Out of your kids, she has the best hair. I think it's probably the hardest to cut.
Amazing hair. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I found some amazing curly cuts. If you're listening, this is a shout out to her name is Lacindra, the curly specialist, Utah curl specialist on Instagram, as well as Curls by Kenzie, I think.
Are they in Salt Lake?
One is like works. The one Utah curl specialist is in my neighborhood, but nice. She does have a salon downtown, and she specializes in curly hair, and she's white. And then there's a mixed girl named Kenzie, and she looks exactly like my girls, same skin color, same white mom, black dad, and exact same hair, so she has cut their hair. But Adana and Kenya are my curlies, whereas India and Naoma are my wavies. So those are different cuts too.
And what about the boys?
Yeah, they're all different too. I mean, some of them have more coarse curls, others have more fine wavy hair, but I just can take a razor or clipper thing, just go. I love to give them buzzes, but they all wanted a little bit of hair on top, and so I don't know how to. I don't have the right tools to like do the fades, but I can basically buzz and then do a little bit of trimming around the top. It's not. I mean, don't look too close is what I'm trying to say. But
that's what I do for my boys too.
Yeah. So I don't do the girls. I grew up with my mom. We would hold garbages behind our backs, and she would trim our hair. I didn't have a style or a professional haircut until I was probably married. not till I was married.
Oh.
I didn't bleach my hair, or not bleach, I didn't color my hair till I was in my like 30s. I just grew up in a very modest, house. It wasn't a big house, modest, like teachings as far and
Modest
luxuries.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Yep. We all shared rooms. We all share like we got to go when we got to go to California, and we'd stop in Las Vegas. We'd stay in Circus, and
Wait, what is Circus?
it's like a family-friendly casino.
Oh, okay.
So
That sounds like an oxymoron to me, but
I
okay.
know. And well, it was probably the most family-friendly casino compared to all the others. But my dad would say, "Okay, you have a budget of this much on the menu," and we'd have to like, I can have an orange juice and a hash brown, and that's it. So we learned at a young age how important it was to save money, which is probably one of the reasons I'm still afloat.
Yeah.
Financially, is because yes, I've been resourceful, but like I have slashed all my bills in half. I've slashed.
It's also the reason, though, your water in your house was, not working for
because I'm telling my kids,
you slashed your
salt
water, whatever.
In fact, I was going to show you. I was going to text you a picture of my water bill because it's like the meter's high on like, October, November, December, and then January, February, March, April. Like the blue lines, one's here, and then the blue lines are here, all the way across because there's no water. And it's back up now because we have sprinklers on. And then again, I will shout out my mission that helped me to learn the value of living minimally, right? And living with like the bare minimum. We don't need all the stuff that we have, and we get used to it, and we get entitled, and we get spoiled. And so, I mean, I watch little kids shower in or bathe in buckets.
Yeah.
And again, I always tell this story. I watched women that were, I think I've said this before on the podcast. She would be washing her dishes with a bar of soap. And then she'd hand her little kid the same bar of soap that they'd wash their hair with. And then they'd give it to the next kid who was washing clothes with all the same bar of soap. And then they all split and came apart, moved away like towards the shoreline as a dead pig floated through. I watched it happen. I was like, oh my gosh.
What in the heck? Forget the soap, man.
I know.
They clean enough for that.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I don't want to get one, too political, or too much of a doomsdayer, but we might all be bathing in buckets and wearing, the same pair of clothes for weeks on end when this AI data center goes in Delta. So
is that going to happen?
Yeah. Well, the government has this, it's a military overreach program. I can't remember what it's called, but they have the power to do whatever they want. You know how the government can come in and say, we need an easement on your land, or we need to take over this house because we're going to put a road here, and they have to pay you for it, but they can take it over. That's what this government program can do in Utah. And they said, we're putting a data center here. Too bad for you. Bye.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I think that they're trying to be creative, but I don't know that we're going to be able to get it gone. And it's just crazy. It's absolutely insane to put in a data center that's going to take as much water and electricity that the state already uses, and we're in a drought. So you're going to double the amount of water. And
why does a data center take water?
Because they have to cool the computers.
The water is what
they cool they have cooling systems, computers from overheating. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So, I didn't know this until recently, but have you heard of the Murdoch Canal Trail that goes, it runs from one of the canyons all the way to the NSA facility over kind of by Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, that area. Do you know where that is? Up on the mountain, there's this huge NSA facility.
I know where the Murdoch Trail is, yes.
So that whole trail we got paved, and it exists because there's a giant canal underneath it that the government uses to cool the stuff at the NASA or the NSA facility.
Jeez.
That's why we have it, is for that. So we're already using water and all this stuff. Anyway, you can tell I'm a little worried about it, as is everybody else on the planet, because there's actually a city, I'm pretty sure it's Corpus Christi in Texas, that at first they said September, and now I think they say they can hold on until December, and then that city will run out of water. They will have no more water because of this kind of situation. And they are rationing the water for the residents, not or the company
Jeez.
that's using it all. It's like the company can have all they want, but the residents, it's like a misdemeanor. You get fined $500 or something if you go over your water limit every month. Like, it's crazy. It feels like third world kind of.
And I'm in a house of 9 with teenagers that shower for a long time. Like, I would be the first to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
we'd be kicked out so fast.
what are we going to do? So anyway,
crap.
that's a concern for a lot of people, but we really are powerless. Well, I don't want to say that. I'm sure there's something that where a lot of people stand up and make a stink and cause attention to come. Like, you can, but as far as the way the government is structured, they can just smash us like ants. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oh well, I know. I mean, that's what happens in family law. That's what happens in criminal law. Nothing matters. And
well, did you keep up on the whole Lego thing happening?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay. After the podcast, I will tell you all about it. Everybody else who's listening to this is gonna be like, "Oh, the Legos."
Yeah,
like the city that I live real close to, the cops are like, kind of, it's like suspicion of corruption kind of thing with a big YouTuber and this Lego story where Lego was stolen. Anyway, it's like a national story. I'll tell you all about it.
It's kind of,
you guys haven't heard it yet, you got to go look it up. It's
ringing
all
a
over the place.
small bell. Well, I don't know any of these things because I'm so like enveloped in my own freaking life.
Well, you've got your mediation coming up.
Yes. So I don't even know. We're probably going to have to separate this into 2 separate like podcasts. But I mean, summer is here. We have had a bomb threat, the last day of school. So instead of taking pictures and everything, we had to scatter like ants, and run to our cars because there was like 30 police cars for a bomb threat at our freaking school.
Gosh.
And then, on Memorial Day, we have the engine go out and find out that the $10,000 repair.
But and there's the neighbor stuff in there.
Yes, there's the neighbor too. And that's why I'm like, do we talk about that one next? Or maybe we can just add it in here because I hate talking about him for very long. I don't even want to think about him. But yes, my car died on the freeway. I was able to coast all the way down.
Do you remember what day of the week it was?
It was Memorial Day on Monday.
So was that a couple days after he had been arrested?
A few days after he had been arrested. So if you are new here, I have a neighbor who I have filed a civil stalking injunction against, and it was granted that same day. The difference between, it's basically a protection order, but a protection order is for family members. A civil stalking injunction is when it's not like close family members. And he just harasses us to death. And has brandished a knife. Anyway, all the things.
He's scary.
I can
he's
try
like
to.
a bigger guy. He's older, but he's bigger. So
he's in his 60s. He's huge. He lives with his mother. Okay, he can't hold a job. He can't hold a woman because he's got raging anger management.
He's already had to do domestic violence classes.
He's already been arrested 3 times, and he just had a hearing. Well, we'll move on to that. But he said the words to my neighbor because he's a mechanic himself. I know how to fix cars and I know how to break them too. And so suddenly, after he's arrested, a few days later, I'm on the freeway, the car kills, I coast into an auto shop. They call me and say, "Oh, it's a piston that has destroyed your whole engine. You need a whole new engine. It's going to cost you $10,000."
Which, when I talked to my dad about it, he was like, "That's not like a common thing. That's something
what he said." The mechanic was like, "This is like very rare." And so instantly I'm like, can you check to see if it's been tampered with? Because I have been receiving threats indirectly from my next door neighbor who I have a protection order against. So I still haven't heard because they had to order and then I'm like, well, do I even buy the engine because it's a $7,000 engine because it's a Mercedes Sprinter? My dad always told me never buy European cars because the
parts are
so expensive. But I was battling the petitioner. He had to have the Mercedes, right, for the look, which now is so funny because now he drives a Range Rover, all for the look, the appearance. And so,
well, the funny part that you're leaving out is that, it's a Range Rover, but it's like an old one.
Mm-hmm. It's like old, and it's got a crap ton of miles on it. So have fun with that. But so I'm in this Mercedes. I would have been fine with a Ford Transit. Like, you should have seen the cars I drove as a teenager.
Oh yeah.
I called one of the cars that I drove Rhea because it was short for diarrhea, because that is what the car looked like and smelled like. It was so fugly.
But it got you from point A to point B.
Yes, I didn't care. And it was a stick shift. Like I was driving crap cars that were unsafe and stick shifts at 16 years old. Then I drove a big old club wagon van every day to Ogden because I was
Wait,
going to
what's a
school at River State.
club wagon?
Like just a big van.
Okay.
Like don't think of the fancy vans now. Think of just like a 10-passenger van with rows and two seats in front, like just ugly. But driving that thing to Ogden, and in the snow. And then anyway, so they tell me it's a $10,000 repair. I'm like, well, do I even repair this engine or get a new engine or get a new car? But I can't afford a new car. I can't even afford another loan to get a new car. And so I was like very distraught and deflated and just like so burned out of the rain that just kept falling. It comes in threes. No, mine comes in like tens.
10,000. Yeah. Well, I don't get on Instagram very often anymore. I just like have been out of the habit, but I actually got on and saw your stories from that day. And I think it was the most emotional that I've seen you in a long time. Like
it's because I can't cry. So when the tears, and I can't cry because I'm medicated. I'm currently on Wellbutrin and sertraline, and the combination of both of them, like I am numb, just to help me cope and not snap at my kids and not to be so depressed. I mean, I used to cry every day during this whole, litigation. And so when I do cry and when tears come, I'm like, like it was strong enough emotionally to break through the barrier of the SSRIs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you hear, hey, you need to come up with 10 grand on the spot, or you can't take your family anywhere and all this stuff, of course you're going to wig out,
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I really can't take it. There's not even, I can't take the kids I don't know of any car that has nine or 10 seats. That's not like big. I mean, most of them are, I don't know, 8 seats. Almost
7 is the more common. 6 or 7 is the common max. You can get some with 8, but it's way more common to have 6 or 7.
And then find a car with 9. Like so I have this 15-passenger Sprinter van, which has been great. And it had to be big because when I got this in 2020 or 2019, like I had 6 of the 8 kids in car seats and boosters, which are big and they don't always fit.
You can't sit them like 3 in a row. That doesn't work. You have to have 3 seats and 1 in between them.
Yep, exactly. And so because then they can't even buckle themselves in, and because the seat belts are hidden anyway. So that was like, I was so deflated. I got tearful because I was just like, come on, like this is not only
something's got to give.
Yeah. And this neighbor, I believe, tampered with it or did something with it, whether he drained the oil.
It's just so coincidental.
Yeah. So the detective was like, I'll call these mechanics, but I don't know that the mechanics are going to be looking for that. And you can't get into break apart a piston without taking things apart. But what would cause the piston to break? And you mentioned that your dad said taking the oil out. Like he could have, or somebody told me that. Drain the car of oil, which then erodes, I don't know, the piston or something because there's no oil and lube or whatever. I have no idea. I have no clue. But whether it was him or not, at the end of the day, I just was like, I can't get above water. And then people say, don't live in scarcity. You can tell how much that bugs me because I am trying to live in abundance. But my word, I'm abundantly blessed. But like, oh my gosh, I cannot keep living, with the rubble on top. And it's like I feel like that Tetris game where it just keeps piling up to the top and I cannot find that breakaway middle ground where I have like 5 layers leave.
Or even like a rest, right? Like, can we just hit the freeze button? Can you just take a breather for a second before something else happens?
Okay, so then let's add on top of that, Adana gets a kidney stone on Sunday. And I'm in state conference, and we had somebody coming to pick up one of our the dogs that we were watching. Just so happened to be one of the puppies that we had bred that we were watching again, which is always so fun. I was like, Adana, go get that dog back to its owner and then come back to church. So she calls me, and she's like, something's wrong, and she had run a mile the day before. And I was like, I told you not to be running with your fractured spine. You're so sore now because I don't know the last time you have run or done anything because she has done nothing for 9 months. She's like, no, it's not that. And I can hear the pain in her voice. And I do, when she is hurt, she's hurt. She's not, some of my kids are hypochondriacs and some of my kids, when they're hurt, I know it's enough for them to to reach out for help and
Mm-hmm.
despair. So I ran home and I was like, oh, I know what's happening. She pointed to her back lower side and was sweating to death. And I'm like immediately fanning her. And I ripped her shirt off and I'm fanning her and she's sweating and she's just like writhing. And I'm like, you got a kidney stone or some sort of kidney infection or a UTI or something is inflamed in there. So I took her right to the ER just because I knew that we needed to get her the heavy meds. Yeah. Rather than wait for ibuprofen to kick in, which won't even touch it. Turns out she had a kidney stone. She needed 2 doses of fentanyl and Toradol, which is like a heavy duty Motrin or ibuprofen. So yeah, let's give her some Tylenol. And she the fentanyl, it was still hurting. So they had to give her another dose. So this puppy, I cannot sit. So, and I don't want to give the sob story, but this is the reality of my life and my kids and my house. I have the engine that needs.
What were you doing with your kids? Like when you were in the hospital, you sent me pictures.
I have India. Okay. I cannot live without my girls. Like I love my boys, but the girls just have that nurturing intuition.
Yeah.
They know how to put kids to bed. India knows how to make lunch. Kenya sometimes puts Naoma to bed for me and she's 8. I mean, the difference between little Nico, who is going to be 7 in 2 weeks, and India at 7 years old, it's not, I can't even, I was having India do jobs and things with me at 7 years old that I wouldn't dream of doing with my boy that's the same age. So I've got kids that are helpful, and my kids, as much as they fight, they really do love and care for each other. And because this is not the first ER visit we've had, I've had probably 4 or 5 with my kids. One when Kenya had rotavirus at 2 years old. And I was like, hey, she had rotavirus. I gave her the immunization for that. But they're like, no, this was just a breakthrough case. Even though she had the vaccine, I took Xander in when he had appendicitis to the ER. I took Treyu into the ER when he had mono as a 3-year-old. I was like, mono. Acute mononucleosis. I was like, are you serious? His face was...
And he was the only one in your family that got it?
Yes. And then Adana now for the kidney stone. I've been at the ER and actually
honestly, she's what, 17 almost?
She's in October.
Yeah, so she's almost 17 and you have 8 kids. That's actually not bad for number of ER visits. I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we have. I think honestly, it's been a blessing from God because I do look back every time I'm doing my taxes, I'm like, we hardly were at the doctor this year. And we didn't have any catastrophes. We've had some cavities because I have just said no to x-rays because I'm like, it's fine. And they're going to lose these teeth anyway. But I think that maybe we've been blessed with some health, but also I have to throw in there that we had 3 tonsillectomies at the same time. And that helped a lot because we were stricken with nonstop strep. Nonstop. I think Adana was the carrier. And Xander never had throat strep. This is a funny story. I think I've told this too on the podcast before you were ever on. I'll tell it really fast because it's quite funny. But, Xander was complaining of his bum hurting.
How old was he?
Maybe 5 or 6.
Okay.
Also, he's had, have you ever heard of C. diff? Yeah, he had that. He had that twice. And once a 2-year-old. Yeah, this is explosive diarrhea every hour on the hour. And it's when your gut is so, it's been killed by antibiotics because he had so many blasted ear infections. I think between the 8 of my kids, I've had over 30 ear infections because you can't qualify at the time, you couldn't qualify to get tubes like surgery from an ENT unless they had 5 or more ear infections in 1 year.
We've done tubes in 3 of our 4 kids' ears, so we know the ear infection at our house.
Yeah. So tubes are awesome. A couple of my kids have had to have 2 sets. Anyway, so his gut was shot from all the antibiotics, and then he got C. diff. I had to take him to primary children's for that to get vancomycin, which is this IV. Anyway, there's lots of weird things that we've had. Not normal. We have never had RSV. We've never had some of the normal stuff, like maybe 1 case or 2 cases of hand, foot, and mouth. Ours are weird and random. But back to my story that was funny now. he's like, Mom, my bum hurts. And I was like, this is like a week. My bum hurts. And finally, after maybe the third or fourth time, I'm like, okay, well, do you need to go to the bathroom? Have you gone? Has it been a minute since you've gone? Well, let's just give him some Miralax, see if he's constipated. A couple more days go by. Mom, my bum still hurts. And I'm like, what? Okay, bend over, spread your cheeks. And a side note, when my sister told her daughter, who also was having pain in her rear end or maybe something, she's like, spread your cheeks. Let's get some stuff in there. She went like this. She bent down and she went like this. If you're watching on YouTube, she spread her face cheeks out with her hands. So she bent down. She's like, all right, bend down and spread your cheeks. And she's like, side note. Anyway, so I tell Xander to do the same thing. Okay. And I get some Desitin or some, I don't know, Neosporin. I can't remember. And I was just wiping it all in there. Right. And went on my merry way. Well, he's still complaining of it. And, and, you know, Adana had strep before, and I started to get the tickle in my throat a few days later, and I was like, man. And I look in my throat, and I've got the white, you know, pustules or whatever they're called, the white stuff all over my tonsils. And I'm like, oh my freak, I have strep. My throat is on fire. And my tonsils were so swollen, they were almost touching, and it was a little bit more difficult to inhale. And I was like, oh my gosh. So anyway, I take Adana finally to the doctor because she just gets strep so many times. And I'm like, I'm going to take Xander with me just to check. Because my doctor, who he just left after 15 years, but we've had him their whole lives. He would always let me see more than one kid. So I take them both to the pediatrician. He checks out Adana, and, you know, she's fine. Or maybe it was like I don't know if she had strep or if she was over it at this point. I'm like, well, while you're here, or while we're here, can you just check out Xander? I don't know what's going on, but he just says his bum hurts. I'm sure it's nothing. He's like, oh, sure. And he's like, all right, Xander, take your pants down. We're going to swab your bum. And I said, excuse me? He's like, yeah, it's a little red around, like there's a red ring, and we're just going to swab it. And I said, why? Why are you doing that? And he's like, oh, for rectal strep. I said, excuse me? Like, what the heck is rectal strep? And it's just like you hear it, people. It's butthole strep. And I was like, what? What is that comes back positive? And suddenly my life flashes before my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I'm clutching my throat because I got butthole strep in my mouth, people.
It's the same thing. It just manifests differently.
No, I am convinced I did not properly wash my hands after Q-tipping his anus, as Adana would say. That's her favorite word. His rectum, and got it in my mouth. So I have rectal strep in my throat. It was horrible. Anyway, so that
Wait, did the pediatrician give him medicine and you medicine, or did he say, like, good luck to you, Julie, go find a different doctor?
Yeah, I think that, I don't know if mine was strep because it did end up going away and I didn't have an antibiotic. But
it can go away on its own. You can just get
I think it did. I think I was too embarrassed to be like, I have butt strep in my mouth. Can you prescribe me something too? But he's like, oh, this is super common. So if you're a new mom out there, or you've had a mom of little toddlers, there is a thing called rectal strep. And he would get rectal strep more often than he ever, I don't know if he got it ever in his throat. But when we removed his tonsils, the ENT said, I was like, why are we removing his tonsils? Why don't we remove his butthole? And he was like, and no, because it all originates from the throat.
Yeah.
And so, and it was, he said his tonsils were the worst of all of them, even though he never had throat strep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I understand it, it's been a long time since I learned about tonsils, but like two of my kids don't have theirs and I don't have mine. And it's just as like, it's like the sail that picks up the wind, you know, like for your body, and it just catches all of the germs for all the things. If you're wondering why I was making funny faces and going like this, is because my 16-year-old is outside of my window, like blowing on it, making funny faces. And like, if I knew how to like switch the camera around or something, I would have.
I know. I'd show you all my sleeping dogs. I'm too afraid to touch anything, but yes. So again, we have taken a tangent we did not expect to be taken.
I know, we're 35 minutes in and I'm like, wait, what were we supposed to talk about, Julie?
Well, all that to say is we've had some hits, like the ER stays, the engine, the kidney stone, and then Adana ended up having strep in her finger. And I know people who have had strep in their belly button, like it can come anywhere, not just your throat. But so I've been tired of getting hit and slammed so hard. And so back to what we were saying, I love my community on Instagram. I know
Oh
that
my
social
gosh.
media has lots of terrible things, but it has blessed my life. It has found me some of the best people, and you're one of them, Carly. I met Carly through social media.
Wild.
I've met so many people that through social media, and friends and people who have helped me and helped my family, all the anonymous donations and the anonymous gifts and the ones that are not anonymous, and people are just like, "Hey, I know you need this," and or just friendship. And then people that are going through family court, like it has blessed my life. And so this wasn't my intention, but I like to be raw and authentic. I like to be real because I think it's relatable. I think that women can, not to say commiserate and be miserable with me, but like it's not all unicorns and rainbows.
I think it's somebody, you need somebody to sit in the mud with you. I think there's, and I think that grief needs a witness, but I also think that the original reason why we got on Instagram, do you remember when we just like posted pictures of our families and that's what we did,
Yeah.
And it's like, it's become one giant ad like TikTok and all of the things. But I feel like the reason why we got on it was to relate to other people, to feel seen and to show people our lives. And like the authenticity is why Instagram started, was to allow people into our world a little bit when they weren't in it, like I started posting on Instagram for my in-laws, and my parents. I think we lived away from my parents at the time too. And I loved knowing that our family members could see their grandkids and nieces and nephews and all that stuff from far away, right? That's the purpose of it. So I think your community is holding out for you, for people like you, because for everyone like you get like 10 that are selling you crap on Amazon or whatever,
or they're just like this picturesque family with what it appears to be no problems. They're just sailing through life. And I know that's not true, but that's what it appears to be.
That's what it appears to be. And
you
that
can't
gets
look at that and feel good. You're just like, oh, yeah, because so I got on there and part of the reason is because I've had the gag order, so I can finally get on and talk about the struggle, right? Because I couldn't even talk about a hard day without it coming back to bite me from opposing counsel. Hey, buddy, she's right here. You can grab her because
I remember that. I remember like before you were, the gag order was removed, and like I remember you being, did something stop?
Do you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Did I escape? Keep talking. I just have to find it.
Okay, I can see you. But I remember you like outside one night trying to say something without saying it, and I was like, Julie, just tell us what you. And that was before you and I.
Oh,
we hadn't connected yet. Yeah. And so I didn't know the gag order. In fact, one of the comments from last week's YouTube with the gals, with Dana and Dana, one of the people was like, Carly, we love you, but shut up. Is basically like, we want to hear from these other ladies. And what people don't understand is those ladies, like for you, I don't think that the trauma from what you've gone through has silenced you, but those ladies still struggle to find their voice, and they need people to like bring stuff out of them. They need people to like give them permission to disagree or to tell a story or to whatever, because especially with Leah, you hear it where she still doesn't talk very loud.
Yeah.
And she does it
for permission.
Yeah. Like if she disagrees with something that I say, or she wants to say something, it's like you can see it in her head. Like, can I say something? Like, yes, Leah, like I'm trying to get something out of, or like trying to keep her going or not be
and that's because she was silenced in her marriage and had no control. She was controlled.
Super abused. Like it wasn't just silence. It was like,
abused.
Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but made to feel worthless and like her opinion didn't matter and she couldn't talk and all those things. And so, anyway, I think that as people heal, they become more vocal and more, like able to share. But even that, I think people don't really understand what it's like. I mean, even though technically Leah can say things because her abuser is DEAD, right? He's dead. But like Dana, she can't. A lot of the time she wants to say stuff and she cannot. So I have to like, we both have to like pick up the pieces or try and move on, or,
It's like trying to code, this encrypted stuff. And I felt the same way. I could I was carefully wording things, as I was even doing it on my last closet cast. Like, well, we have mediation coming up, but I don't know how. I mean, it's just like saying it so carefully instead of just saying, I don't think he's even going to show up for it. Like, I can't, because
I dare you.
Worried.
I dare you to show up.
Yeah. So, being silent. Well, I was in trouble for talking about just how difficult this was doing it on my own. You've disparaged the petitioner by assuming that this is all on your own. Does he not help you? Does he not contribute? And I wanted to say, no, he doesn't. But then, is that true that you don't believe that the petitioner contributes? Well, what about the time he sent you this money? Are you saying that didn't happen? I mean, it's just like suddenly they flip you and you're like, oh, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's hard to be at home alone without any partner here. And I don't
what you're saying is when you wake up in the morning, you're alone. When you go to bed at night, you're alone. When the kids need something, they're alone. When you're hungry, you have no money. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's exactly. And I feel, now looking back, of course, all of us that look back want to wish that we had said something and tried over the pulpit, but you're too afraid not afraid because you're a coward, but afraid that it's going to cost you custody. It's going to cost you financial punishment. Well, you're in contempt of court, so you owe $500. Like, I mean, you're just doing everything you can to protect yourself.
I will never forget standing in front of our city council. It wasn't like in the grand scheme of things, it was not a big deal, but I was trying to make sure that our neighborhood community park they wanted it to turn into a big sports facility. And all of us neighbors who live by it, we're like, oh, no, we're not doing that. And we ended up working as a community and got it to be a nice park instead of this sports facility. And I'm glad it worked out that way. But I will never forget standing up and talking to the city councilman. And in our city, they sit up like judges do, so like you walk straight to look at them and to talk to them. And I mean, I have practiced doing some of this stuff because of church, right? You bear your testimony or you teach or whatever. So I'm not like that stranger to it, but it's public speaking. And these people are sitting like a judge ahead of you. And I will just never forget standing there. And one of the city councilmen responded negatively to what I was saying, because I was just saying, my friends that have kids that have special needs, if they are around, we wanted to have a special needs park and they wanted to have 27 pickleball courts. And if you do that, then I'm worried the noise will deter these kids with special needs. It will be too loud. And this one guy on the city council is a doctor. He's not a specialist, not a what we call it, like a special needs doctor, whatever. He's just a GP, right? But he, on his high horse, was telling me that's not true. That's not how that works. And I was like, well, have you raised a special needs kid? But anyway, the way that he looked down at me, I just thought, I was raised by a man who empowered me. I'm married to a man who empowers me. I have experience speaking like this a little bit, at least, I am not afraid. And here I am feeling like I'm just a little, turd on your shoe that you're wiping off, right? Like, I am confident, I am empowered. And I still feel in this situation degraded and belittled by somebody who thinks he's better than me. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine being in this situation where you're told these things, or you're held to like this standard that is impossible to meet, like the alienation and all of that.
That's why it's so hard for so many women that are abused, because they're forced, like Leah said, you're forced to be courteous to the abuser. Yes. You're forced to sit in the same room. And as Dana said, some of them are required to give them a greeting, after they've been strangled, after they've been sexually coerced, right?
So their abuser is there, right? Like, that's hard enough. But then to have a position of authority above you in legal stuff,
who has immunity,
that's way harder.
Yeah, you can imagine, like, when people are like, I would never let anyone take my kids from me. Well, just
you think they just roll over and let them?
Yeah, hold that thought, because they do take them from you and they handcuff you and put you in jail. And then when you get out of jail, you don't get them back. It's not like you paid your dues and you get them back. Those kids are gone. And there's so many women that are dealing with that and afraid to speak out for retaliation. And this somehow always ties back to the courts. But I remember my bishop was brought. I mean, I was told I was a toxic liar, that I had a tendency to lie because of Julie's tendency to lie, and which was like such a slap in my face because I don't lie. I mean, I'm on here on social media, like just saying things, raw dogging it, saying things how they are. And it's not like this reality that I've created. I'm not delusional and justifying what I think to be true, but these are just the facts. I'm trying to be matter of fact and not emotional about it. I have feelings, yes, and I can share those, but I know those are feelings. But the facts are, that he was calling me a liar, telling me that I was disparaging him, painting him in a bad light, as well as my favorite, poisoning the community with my smear campaign.
Mm-hmm.
All those things. And I've said it over and over on the podcast, but like women can't speak out because they are afraid of the retaliation and the punishment that will come to them if they do.
You just can't win. There's just no winning.
No. So my bishop was actually mentioned in one. Can you hear the shower or the bathroom behind me? Sorry, guys. You can hear the plumbing in the back. But my bishop was brought into one of the motions, and it said, Julie and her bishop have accused blah, blah, blah. And my bishop read that and was furious. And he's like, I only have had my name dropped in there once, and I'm fuming.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine. It's like over and over. And it's like, oh, just let it go. Like my mom always says, let it go. Like, you try to, but then you start to believe it about yourself. Like it's just this psychological thing that happens that you start to believe it's true. Even though it's not.
It's not. It's gaslighting. But the thing that's really hard that I've learned, like watching different legal cases that are happening and stuff, is, I mean, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know how it all works, but I know that there are certain things, like when you file a lawsuit, both sides come and they file all this stuff. And if you were to go and read, like this is happening in the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively stuff, what the media does is they will go in and whichever side they're kind of vying for, they'll go in and act like the paperwork that was filed that they're accusing the person of, right? Blake Lively is saying this about Justin Baldoni. In the paperwork where she's accusing him of all this stuff, you have to accept that as fact as the judge in this case. And then you have to go in and disprove it. But what happens is people from the media will go in and say that she like put this, I forget the words for all of this, but you basically like file this paperwork to start everything going, right? And she makes all of these accusations and then they say that it's true, right? It hasn't been proven. She's just saying it. And a lot of it is not true. A lot of it is absolutely false, demonstrably so. But until you go to trial, until you prove that case, the judge has to assume these things are true.
Yeah.
And so that's what's really hard is there are places in the legal system where they file this paperwork, and they say all sorts of things that you're like, that's not true, and that's not true, and that's not true, but it doesn't matter. That's what they're saying is true. And so the judge has to look at it as though it is.
Because it's under oath.
No, well, I don't know. It's not that. It's like, it's just like basically you're innocent until proven guilty kind of thing. It's like they trust you until you tell them not to. The whole trial is to see if these things are true or not, right?
It's finding credibility. But like, I just know that if you testify under oath, then that's your testimony, and they use that as
and a deposition as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like, also, I mean, that doesn't even, we're not even talking about the friendships between attorneys and judges.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, no. I know.
I just mean as far as like being frustrated that you're being accused of something, right? It's like, well, they're writing all of this stuff and they haven't proved it yet, but you're seeing it and you know it's not true, but you don't know that the judge sees through it. And just seeing it written down and not having gone through this process or knowing a lot about the law, you're like, what in the actual hell are you saying?
Well, did I tell you? I think I did tell you this, how I had this cute girl reach out to because I accidentally, and I don't even know if it matters, mentioned the name of the petitioner's attorney.
Oh, and, yeah.
She was like, he did a pro bono hearing for me, and you think it's out of the goodness of their heart, or maybe it's to get to continuing hours, or I don't know. But she's like, no, it wasn't for that. He told me, I like to do these to stay in the good graces of the court. So it wasn't for her. It wasn't to help her. It was to keep him, in that sweet spot
Buddy.
with the judges so that the judges will adore him and like him in the next hearing that he has so that he can win the trial because he's now trusted and he does good service for people. So the judge likes him and then they win, and it just so happens if you're new here that the petitioner's attorney is a former commissioner. And so he knows the ins and outs of commissioners.
He knows how they work,
how they play, and this is public information. It's in the Salt Lake Tribune. This commissioner was resigned as a commissioner because of sexual harassment and calling people names like heifer. And one of the things he said was, I think that his secretary or something was queer. And he said to this secretary, when are you going to get a hot gay couple in my courtroom? And I think she reported that, and he ended up resigning before he was fired. But now he's just a measly lawyer, not a commissioner. And he does an interview where he said, I always wanted to be a judge because judges have all the power. And I was like, you greedy.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is about power and greed.
Again, we got to get you into this Lego story because they bring in the church into this Lego story because some of the players are LDS in this story, unfortunately. And then there's some, bad cops in there too. But the same principle that you're talking about, I think, in the law applies in the church too, where it's like there are people who recognize it as a benefit just to say in our area. If you live outside of the Intermountain West, people sometimes, depending on where you live, they don't like LDS people. And so it doesn't benefit you to say that you are one. But if you're dealing in an area where they like LDS people, they know we're honest and, hardworking and all of that, they like LDS people, they want to hire LDS people, all of that, right? Because if you're living the religion, you're a good human. You don't have to agree with how we believe, but you see that we're living our religion in a way that it's good fruit. You know what I mean? And so these guys, everybody's all up in arms about how these Mormon people are stealing from old people and how they're, maybe the religion is terrible. And they're some people have said the church is kind of controlling the police department a little bit, crazy crap. But the principle of it is people can claim to be something they're not because they think it benefits them. They want you to think business people and people in the law and people everywhere who are trying to be successful, they want you to see them as kind and generous and hardworking and good-hearted and all of these things.
Just
so they're going to
narcissist.
appear that way. Yeah, they're going to do what it takes. I mean, it's the same thing as this is probably horrible to say, but my dad was always again, thinking like a criminal. He's if you were a child offender, where would you live? Would you live where there's no kids? Would you go to Arizona with all the old people? Or would you come to Utah where there's a lot more kids and a lot less parents watching them? Where would you go? You would go where the kids are and pretend to be one of them so that you can have your way with things. You know what I mean? And so in the legal system, you've got, it's the same with teachers. You either have really good teachers and cops and lawyers who love their job and love the people, or you've got people who want power. And I mean, not teachers, they don't want money, and cops, but it's usually power and control and things like that. So it's there's no winning. There's no winning.
It just takes me back to the Book of Mormon and all the times it says in there the conspiring lawyers and judges to get gain. Oh my gosh.
For the Gadianton robbers, though. I mean, do you remember growing up thinking, oh, I'm so glad that we don't live in the times of the Book of Mormon and the Bible when
and secret
all this crazy crap happened, and now I'm they're all real. They're all alive.
Which,
they're everywhere around us.
Why I want to say, when do I get to be Tiancum with a javelin and climb over the city and go stab the king in the heart, when does it get to be my turn? We all have to be, peaceful peacemakers.
Yeah. Well, you may have to wait until the other side. You can petition God to let you be a destroying angel like my dad wants to do.
Yes. Get me on that horse with my sword. But okay, I am determined to finish this in 6 minutes.
Okay.
Because we're at 54 minutes. But
where do you want to go with it?
Okay. Well, I was going to mention, so we had the kidney stone, we had the engine problem, we've got, I had another problem. What was, I got a message, the next door neighbor had a hearing. Turns out that for all of his disorderly conduct and for property damage and for harassment.
Wait, there were 8 misdemeanors and 2 class 2 felonies?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Keep going.
And he was charged $250. He he took the plea deal, paid $250, and they dismissed the charges, all except for one. And so he had to pay $250, and it's just, and then he was let out of jail the same day that he was put in, where the detective was like, oh, he'll be in for at least a month. And before the detective even finished the paperwork, he was out. And I was like, dude, like, I just told my kids he was in jail, and we see his red truck pulling up. And he's like, I am so sorry. And no probation, no jail time, no nothing. And so I've like come to terms with the fact that nothing matters. This is all a bunch of crap. So I was feeling deflated, right? Deflated that he had a punishment of $250. Deflated that I have now $10,000 that I have to cover to fix this van. Adana has a kidney stone, so I have an ER visit to pay for, and the petitioner has paid nothing, and nor shares any of the medical expenses or extracurricular costs or child support for that matter. And I am so sick of carrying the load. And I was tearful a little bit because it's just pure frustration. And so many people reached out and was like, do a GoFundMe, do a GoFundMe. And I'm like, I can't do a GoFundMe. I have done 3 of them already. I mean, granted, they've been over the space of 4 years, but I was like, I cannot keep begging people for money. This is crazy. I feel like I should be on top of this now. I feel like I should be better and like not asking for so much help. Like I had Kickstarters for my kids to do their sports, and I don't think that was wrong, because football players are going around selling IBM books and selling cookie dough, so I was like, why can't my kids do that as gymnasts, even though it's not like a football team on the school? And so I did that, and people, donated money, and I've done another one, or people were just donating the year that he left because they knew that he left and that I suddenly had nothing. And again, I will say this till I'm blue in the face until you're all hear it over and over again. I think the biggest, what's the word for unfairness, injustice, is that when 2 people divorce or separate, and if one has been the breadwinner the whole time, how is it fair that the other person suddenly has to come up with half overnight?
Mm-hmm.
And the other party gets a discount of 50%. And I guess that's
it's more like, I think my favorite that you talk about is like that your ability to earn disappeared when he walked out. Because it's not just that you need to do half. Like I think that is fair. What's not fair is your ability to do it, right? Like if you're going to work that often, he needs to split the time with the kids, right?
Which is why I offered that, because the therapist said, okay, do the nesting where you stay in the home for 4 nights and then you go to work and stay somewhere else, and he'll stay in the home for 3 nights. Mm-hmm. And then, you stay somewhere else, and then you go to work full time for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then have the kids Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then he takes and so I hated the thought of it, but I did what he said. And I was like, okay, Alex, if this is what you want to do, then I think this is what we should do, because it's stability for the kids, blah, blah, blah. And he just said, no, that's not going to work for me. Because he wanted to live this bachelor life and make his go at Las Vegas, where he was convinced he was going to, it was going to materialize into something, and it didn't. And so anyway, all that to say, people were kind and saying, I will start a GoFundMe for you then. And I was like, no, because then they take a percentage. And so I had maybe 10 to 15 people say, what's your Venmo? What's your Venmo? What's your Venmo? And I was like, I am so against this. I'm not doing it. And I finally caved, because I was like, I need the help. Mm-hmm. I need the financial help. I need people's compassion and grace. And I put my Venmo on my Instagram, and the amount of people that donated has been
she sent me a screenshot of her Venmo account, and I was like, what is happening? And so that's why I got on Instagram and looked at your stories, because I was like,
it was overnight in 24 hours, and like a couple of people donated $500. A couple of people donated $1. And I'm telling you, that $1 may as well have been $1 million to me.
Yeah.
And the people that donated 500, I was like, oh my gosh, that it has taught me so much about generosity and mourning with those that mourn, and helping those in need, and clothing the naked, and feeding the hungry. Like, it's given me a different perspective on generosity. My mom always tells this hilarious story. She is so funny when she talks about it, because on the radio, back 30, 25 years ago, they would do primary children's, fundraisers. And they were like, please donate to primary children's, blah, blah, blah. And so my mom donated, and she felt good about it. She called up and gave her a little donation over the phone. And then you hear the radio commercials, and they say, we would like to thank Carly for donating $350, and we would like to thank Julie for donating $780, and we'd like to thank Bonnie Jeppson for donating $10 to primary children's. And she was like, what? I just announced that. Because you just don't realize, that some people are so generous, but that $10 for her was generous, because
it's all relative.
Yeah,
it's all what you have to give.
Totally. And so when people gave me $1, like, I wasn't like, are you serious? Like, it meant the world to me.
Because it's something.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's their widow's mite, and some were like, I can't donate, but like, I'm praying for you. Like, it's just because there's so many people going through so much stuff. It's not just me, I always say that we're battling, in family court, but we're, trying to survive, but and get money. We're kind of going up against kids with cancer. If we're doing like a benefit concert, where's the money going to go first? To moms in family court whose kids are having forced visits with their abuser, or to kids who are dying of cancer?
Well, and the kids with cancer thing is interesting, because only 6% of that's the number that's coming to my head. I don't know if that's exactly the number now, but when I was helping do some leukemia fundraising stuff, it was something like 6% of fundraising for cancer goes to kids. The rest of it's to grown-ups. So like, even kids with cancer have a hard time. But another thing that I learned fairly recently is, if you compare the amount of money that, like, the average wage that people get now, if you compare that to the wage during World War II, and then you compare the average home price, the average price of gas, and all of that, you compare those prices to where we're at now, and we are poorer, and people are living worse than they were during, no, not World War II, the Great Depression. It was the Great Depression. So like, because everybody looks at the Great Depression as like, oh, well, at least we don't live then in that time. No, people are doing worse now than during the Great Depression. If you are to like calculate it for inflation.
Yeah, because things are so freaking expensive.
Everything is so expensive. It is hard to just live. And in fact, there's this, I actually learned about it through Charlie Kirk. I know there are people who hate when I talk about Charlie Kirk, but because he was unalived really close to us, I have learned way more about him than I ever knew when he was not here, because it's the criminal case that I'm really interested in. Yeah. But because I had a friend that was front row. So anyway, but he actually, right before he died, he went and talked to Congress about how this is the first generation in the history of the United States where the children are starting off worse than their parents. Even during the Great Depression, they were at least starting off as well as their parents. Jeez. But now young people, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, are putting their food basically on layaway. They pay for it in installments, and they get away with this. He was trying to talk to Congress because it works like a credit card, but they get away with not having it be called a credit card because it's installments. It's not like, but it's still paying interest on things like food, like your Instacart. Yeah. So anyway, that's just to say that it is so hard right now, just to survive, let alone to thrive. Right. And so the fact that people are able to say, I'm paying off a credit card, you're paying off a credit card, like, let's do it together. Like, I'll give you my widow's mite, I'll give you my extra $1. And that's, I mean, when you sent me that screenshot, I was in Costco. And when I went and saw your stories, like, it made me teary-eyed because I was so impressed at the generosity. It's really easy to see the negative, the scary, the hard, the evil, the selfishness, the entitlement. those are all really easy to see. But then when you have stories like where even the company that is fixing your engine is being super generous to you. What's the company's name?
Yes, I wanted to shout them out too. I got a message from the owner's wife, EV Auto, like electric vehicle auto
What
in
city are they in? Is that Sandy?
Lehigh.
Lehigh. Okay.
So they are going to give me a huge discount on the engine repair or installation and
Their time.
And also gave me a loaner car to drive.
Really?
Yeah. So I was driving a Tesla for a minute, and then they switched that out for a loaner car, which I'm kind of glad because it was almost too nice. And I was telling Mike, don't you dare touch those seats. Like, get your feet off of the seat because it was white leather, you know?
So it's EV Auto?
EV Auto, electric vehicle, like auto.
Okay.
And these incredible owners have helped me and blessed me so much just out of the goodness of their heart. They didn't ask me to post anything. They didn't ask me to announce anything. It just genuinely wanted to help. And I think it's like a huntsman, right? The more you give, the more you get back. And I want to do that too. I want to pay all of this forward. And that's why I'm saying in my prayers all the time, like, Heavenly Father, help me to succeed so that I can help others, because I swear I will. I swear at least I'll try. And I was trying, right, with the event, and we can talk about that on the next podcast, but it was a successful event. And I want to be able to pay it forward because so many have helped me. And so yeah, I wanted to shout out EV Auto for basically saving my bacon, and for all of you who are listening who were kind enough, whether you donated or not, to have a prayer for me or to think of me, even when you're all going through your own stuff. We are all going through our own stuff. To think of me, to put me on the temple prayer roll, and to pray for my kids that we can survive this mess. And I'll say it again because I have a testimony of this, that my survival has been dependent upon, yes, my resourcefulness and budgeting like my parents taught me, and being frugal, but more than anything, it's been the law of tithing. And that 10% that I give back to God. And
it's honestly keeping your covenants. The law of tithing is just one of them. But I think that when you make promises and you keep them, blessings. There's a scripture, and I can't pull it out of my brain. I'm not very good with that kind of stuff, but there's a scripture that says that every blessing that you get is predicated upon a law, right? There's a I need to find the scripture, but basically, if you're getting a blessing, it's because you have kept your covenants. And I really do believe it's not that if you don't make these covenants, you won't be blessed. It's just that as you live the covenants that you have made, you will have extra blessings. You'll have extra, I feel like it's extra gas in the gas tank, it's extra closeness.
Because I get that all the time. People all the time, every day. And I even say it to myself, and you've said it to me, and it's not a flex necessarily, but when I hear, I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know how you do what you do. Like it's blessings from, the Almighty. It is being able to give my 10% back and then be blessed with more. It is people's generosity towards me and me wanting to pay that forward. And
that's other people keeping their covenants too, right? Because we covenant to mourn with those that mourn and comfort those that stand in need of comfort, and to share what we have, to give our gifts and talents and resources to the building up of the kingdom of God, right? And so the people who are helping you are also keeping their covenants, right?
And I think that's why this has been such this like dichotomy for me, because keeping my covenants and my promises that I have made in what I believe to be the house of the Lord, and then people doing the same with a husband who did not keep that covenant and seemingly is like living his best life. And I know that's probably not true either, but I'm like, he did not keep that covenant, which also I was accused of. Did you tell your children that their father has not kept his covenants?
What?
I was in trial. You've disparaged him in front of the children. I said, yeah, I told them that he did not keep his promise, and that's a fact. And they tried to use that against me. Anyway,
he announced it online, so
yeah, I know. He opened that can of worms, man, and then blended it.
Did I tell you the line that my ex-uncle used on my aunt?
Oh no.
She was like, but what about the covenants we made in the temple? And he said, well, you only have to keep the covenants that make you happy.
Oh, barf. Oh my gosh.
I was like, what?
Well,
Come
that's
again?
like when the petitioner said to me, I said, dude, we made a covenant. We stood before God. And he said, I know. And I have no problem talking to God on the other side when I get there and telling him myself. I was like, which hurt so badly, not so much for me, but like, I was like, you're willing to do that? Like, I really do take this promise that I made before God, what I believe to be before God and angels and witnesses, that I was promising to be his helpmeet, to love and what's the word, support, uplift, to be all the things that we want to be as wives. So I just could not. It's like when you say you don't think like the mind of a criminal. I couldn't fathom thinking, I'll just go tell Heavenly Father I was done. I remember him saying the words, I'll tell him that I was done and that I'm okay with it. I'm like, you were willing to take the punishment, or whatever it is that's going to happen. He was like, yep. It's like, okay, bye, Felicia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that is just evidence of, where his testimony is at and what he actually believes and what's important to him, like he is, there's a saying that I would cling on to, like in high school and even now, when you feel like you've been misjudged or misunderstood, where, my dad was just like, live so nobody believes it, right? Like, make sure that your actions are congruent with who you really are. And eventually people will understand who you are. Eventually people will get it. You just stay true to who you are. And they might not get it now, but when people accuse, if somebody said, oh, she's dishonest or she's this, that, or the other, they're like, that's not my experience with her, And so I feel like both you and the petitioner your lives are proving who you are.
Yeah. I remember the prophet Joseph Smith said, don't worry about what anyone says about you unless it's true.
Yeah.
And I've kind of...
Well, the other thing, this is not a prophet, and I don't know where I heard it first, but a very powerful phrase is, what somebody else thinks about you is none of your business. Yeah. And that actually was powerful to me.
Mm-hmm. It
was powerful because I was like, wait, that's actually true. That's like their issue. That's not mine.
Yeah,
Bye.
Exactly. Bye. Okay, you guys, thank you for hanging out with us for 12 more minutes. Couldn't help ourselves. Today, I wanted to thank again EV Auto. Thank you for all of you who kindly donated to my poverty fund and my engine. And
no, it's got to be like the sit in the mud with me fund, or
I like that.
Keep my head above water, or pay my kids' medical bill. Something.
Yeah. It's like I didn't want to use that resource or ask for that help. I wanted to save it for the rainy day, and I guess that was my rainy day because I was like, I don't know what to do. And it's okay to reach out for help. And I knew that I don't have a problem reaching out for help. I just was reaching all the time. I'm not too prideful to ask for it, but I also didn't want to suck people dry, But some people don't really know the despair that you're in. And I'm not embarrassed.
You don't want to just burn bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to make people feel like the only reason why you talk to them is because you want their money either.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So,
but it was truly touching to see how many people gave what they had and made a huge difference in your life. I was quite impressed and touched by the whole thing.
Yeah. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to talk about the upcoming mediation and kind of a little bit more about the event that we had at the Off the Record event with Mama Stuck in Family Court. And
in a little while, we want to have, so we tried to record last week with Leah and Dana, and then we ran out of storage. And by the time we figured it out, it would have taken Leah, it would have been 1 a.m. when she got home because she has to drive way farther. So we were like, we're just going to bag it. We'll do it online.
Yeah, and Dana had a flight to catch. So I'm curious if you guys find those episodes about abuse to be interesting and informative, or do they bore you, or do you not care? Tell us in the comments what you think.
My mom, tell us if you feel this way like my mom. My mom is, a avid listener. Yeah, she's probably the only one in my family that listens.
Is it Jean?
Yeah.
Jean Bean?
So she was saying that I can't remember the word that she used, but basically she was shocked by what she doesn't know about abuse. She's like, I have been, and that's fascinating to me because she's been married to a cop for 40 years.
Yeah.
So she is not an idiot, right? And he told her a lot of things, but she was just like, I am shocked by what I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe people are like me. And that's I was like, what is my purpose on these episodes with these, like, everybody has their credentials and I'm just there, the girl was like,
any.
Curly, but shut up. Well, you've at least, you've lived through real life.
Yeah, but you've got perspective from the people who don't know what that we're talking about.
Well, that's what my mom said when I was like, Mom, did I talk too much? She was like, no. She said, your voice was louder than Leah's. So maybe that's what bugs people. And it's because of the microphone situation. And she just has a very quiet voice. But she was like, your reaction was my reaction. She was like, when you were like shocked, I was shocked. It's nice to have.
Yeah, I feel like there's a shock factor every podcast where you specifically are like, what?
Yes.
Like
exactly.
Last week we were finding out about how we don't get to pick our therapist. It's assigned.
Yes.
One off of this list. Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? Because it's not just that you don't get to choose your therapist. You don't get to like price shop for it. You don't get to choose. I mean, basically you choose nothing. You're told you need this by this person for this much, and you have to go at this time.
Yep.
Doesn't matter. You have no money.
Or you're fined or you go to jail.
Yeah. That's wild.
And we still have women going to jail because at this event at Off the Record, the event that we had at Sundara on May 9th, one woman had just served 10 days in jail. So it's happening. It's still happening. Anyway, stay tuned. We're an hour and 16 minutes in. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and
like and subscribe. Hype.
Let's get this exposure of the crap that's around family law and family court out there, so more people do know and can at least find out if they have crappy judges in their district or not. So anyway, we will see you guys next time.